Good evening. Here is Top News newsletter, starting with the headlines. Syrian army continues counter-terrorism operations, kills scores of terrorists. Jordan strikes on ISIL, beginning of retaliation for pilot murder. Obama ready to request Congress permission to use military force against ISIL. The army eliminated scores of terrorists, the majority of them from the so-called Islam Army organization in the village of Eastern Ghouta and Damascus countryside. Units of the army carried out a series of strikes against dens and concentrations of terrorists in Jobar, killing a number of them. Other army units carried out special operations against terrorists in Zamalka and Erbil, killing and injuring several mercenaries. Units of the army and armed forces targeted dens of ISIL, a terrorist organization in southern countryside of Al-Hasaka, inflicting heavy losses upon them. Syrian army hits with artillery ISIL gatherings and dens in Al-Badran village near Al-Hasaka city, destroying many of ISIS vehicles and weapons, and killing a number of terrorists and injuring others in the operations. Also, they killed members of Takfiri terrorist organizations during continued operations against their then in Talbisa area, northern countryside of Homs. In the eastern countryside of Homs Central Province, the source confirmed that an army unit eliminated many terrorists, injured others, and destroyed their weaponry and ammo in Salam al-Gharbi and Rish villages. A military source said that a unit of the army destroyed terrorists then and eliminated dozens of them in Saraqib, Kifr Najid, Talat Tuqan, Al-Sheikh Yusuf in Idlib countryside. Jordan launched dozens of strikes against the Takfiri group ISIL in retaliation for the murder of its pilot, with Amman saying that the raids are just the beginning. Fighter jets carried out airstrikes, then returned to fly over the home of the slain 27-year-old pilot Muad al-Kasasiba in the village of Krak Governorate. They claimed hits on ISIL training centers, arms, and ammunition depot. All targets were completely destroyed, and all the plane returned to their bases safely. Jordanian Foreign Minister Nasser Jude later stressed that the airstrikes marked the beginning of his nation's retaliation over the pilot's death, but not the start of its fight against terrorism. He vowed to destroy ISIL. We are upping the ante. We are going after them wherever they are with everything that we have. But it is not the beginning, and it is certainly not the end, Judy said. The ISIL released horrific footage showing Kasasiba being burned alive while confined in the cage. In Libyan view, a suicide bomber detonated a car laden with explosives in the eastern Libyan city of Benghazi, killing 2 people and injuring around 20 officials, as saying. The car had apparently targeted an army base but exploded early, according to the military. President Barack Obama is poised in coming day to ask Congress for a new authority to use U.S. military force against Islamic State militants, the White House said. President Barack Obama will send specific language of an authorization for the use of military force to Congress relative soon, White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest told. We see ISIL, a brutal vicious death cult that in the name of religion carries out unspeakable acts of barbarism, he said in Washington. The U.S. President said that if we defend the legal right of a person to insult another religion, we are equally obligated to use our free speech to condemn such insults and to stand shoulder to shoulder with the religious communities, Obama said. U.S. officials say Washington is deploying more military equipment into Iraq as a part of the strategy to fight the ISIL and to be better positioned in the event of downed planes. So last week, Obama condemned the beheading of Japanese freelance journalist Kenji Goto by ISIL terrorists. Globally, in Russia, head of Russia's Chechen Republic, Ramazan Kadyrov, said that ISIS is the creation of the United States and other Western countries that have declared a covert war against Islam. They take from Islam only what they want, so Islam is the word of Allah and it can't be taken apart. Reports make it clear that ISIL activities aim to sabotage Islam from the inside, to make the world turn away from Islam. Their brutality, shootings, beheadings, burnings, are the direct continuation of what the killer of righteous caliphs did. Islamic State is the creation of the US and other Western countries that have declared a covert war against Islam, as Kadyrov said. The leaders of Germany and France announced a new peace plan for Ukraine, flying to Kiev with a proposal they would then take on to Moscow. The coordinated trip by Chancellor Angela Merkel and President Hollande comes as separatist advance on a railway hub held by Ukrainian troops, after launching an offensive that violated a 5-month-old ceasefire. With Washington moving toward a decision soon on arming Ukraine, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry also visited Kiev on Thursday. He had no plane to go to Moscow and wasn't involved in the Franco-German initiative, although he supported it. Moscow said it hoped talks with Merkel and Hollande would be constructive. Hollande and Merkel met President Petro Poroshenko in Kiev and were expected to go to Moscow to see Russia's Vladimir Putin on Friday. Poroshenko said that talks gave hope that there will be a result in a ceasefire, his office said in a statement. Hollande said earlier, for several days Angela Merkel and I have worked on a text that can be acceptable to all. Ukrainian Prime Minister said Kiev wouldn't consider any peace plan that casts doubt on the nation's territorial integrity, sovereignty or independence. The Franco-German plane looked like an 11-hour bid to halt the escalation for the conflict ahead of diplomatic deadlines likely to make East-Western confrontation even worse. Peace talks collapsed in Belarus, and EU leaders are expected to consider new sanctions against Moscow next week. NATO accuses Russia of sending weapons, funds and troops to assault the rebel advance, negating a ceasefire in eastern Ukraine, where conflict has already killed more than 5,000. Moscow denies involvement in fighting for territory in the Kremlin now calls New Russia. That's all for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Inas Ahmed. Good night.